lonesome road set my soul on fire. Thinking back before I left, the passions I desire. Can you help me anymore?
Well, hello. Welcome to Roads and Roads, the Yorma and John podcast, episode number 2 for season number 2. 2 for 2, Yorma.
Season 2.
Season 2, we're here. Well, good to be with you again.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enjoyed the last time we got together.
As did I.
Now, Yorma, today, before I get to the next part, we had some questions that people had sent in at the end of last year,
Okay.
and we talked about that during our December podcast, episode number 11, season number 1. And some we didn't get to because we were so busy that day. And I thought I would hit you with some of these questions
Let's do
to
it.
start off this show today, and then we're going to groove into another record that I want to talk about. But this was a real good question that came in, Yorma, and you could tell us about this. How did the Blue Country Heart session come together, and can you relay about your experience with recording that record?
Sure. So we had a publicist back in around the turn of the century, and she introduced me to an A&R guy who was with Atlantic at the time, and his name was Yves Bouvet, and we started. We just started talking, and Yves asked me if you could do a dream project, what would that project be? And at that time, my dream would be to do a record with Sam Bush, Jerry Douglas, with all those great guys that are on Blue Country Heart. And he said, well, let me think about that. And that was that. I figured, okay, we had this conversation, and next thing I know, he pops up, and now he's an A&R guy for Columbia, and he calls up and got in touch with Vanessa and said, we'd like to do this record. And it's pretty exciting. I mean, first of all, look at the guys I got to play with. And the other thing is that it was the launch of a Sony, another great failed idea of Sony called Super Audio, SACD, Super Audio CD.
Right.
I remember Jerry Douglas talking about it. He says, you can hear the air in the room. I mean, it really was a great system, but you had to have a system that played SACDs. And of course, while we were with a Sony company, they gave me a Sony system.
Mm-hmm.
But there were only like 3 SACDs were ever made, so.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so we got to go ahead for this project, and Sam Bush, Jerry, Byron House, Bela Fleck,
Yep.
all live,
Yep.
no editing, usually first or second takes.
Yep. As you probably remember, I was there with you for those sessions.
I do remember that.
And it was so...
So you didn't need to ask me because you knew the answers to
Well,
this question.
no, I was just going to see if you remembered it the way I remembered it, you know. And you had the great players on that. Now, did Yves bring those songs to you?
So, Yves sent me, over the course of a year or so before that, he sent me, I don't know, more than a dozen CDs. Oh, what I was interested also in is focusing on white blues-esque artists of the 20s and 30s, those are early periods. Because there's lots of cross-pollination going back on in those days. And he just started sending me CDs and stuff with all these great collections. I mean, I'd like to think that in his house somewhere he has a huge collection of all these records, but whatever.
I bet he does.
I'd like to find those CDs again.
Yeah.
And I just started listening to stuff and picking songs I'd like to do.
Yeah, and it's such a great collection. You got Jimmy the Brakeman.
Yeah.
The great Jimmy Rogers
Always,
represented there.
yeah.
That Delmore Brothers thing was so cool.
Yeah, the Delmore Brothers, I think they recorded from the late 20s up into the 50s.
Right. Right, and that was so great. Remind me once again about the Washington Phillips song, though. That has,
right.
What are they doing in Heaven Tonight? Now, didn't you discover that yourself through somebody?
No, actually, I got that from G. Smith.
G. Smith, yeah.
G. Smith, and Yeah, well, Washington Phillips, what a great song, and Washington Phillips, he didn't play guitar. He played a thing called the dulceola, which was a sort of a zither-like thing. So it was key actuated.
Okay.
I guess I read somewhere that somewhere around the turn of the century, nobody had radios and stuff like that back in those days, and everybody had a piano or something in the house, but the pianos were expensive, and the dulceola was it's like an auto harp kind of thing, but with keys that would pluck the strings. Anyway, so he did this on the dulceola, a very distinct sound and cool stuff.
Well, I know he has that record on Yazoo. I don't maybe.
Yeah, there's one record of his. I think it's called "I Was Born to Preach the Gospel," but it has lots. I think it's got like 15 or 20 tracks on it.
Yeah. Now, was that exclusively what he played, or did he play guitar also?
No, I don't know if he played guitar, but that's the recordings are all the dulceola.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the song selection was so great, and of course, a lot of those songs you had in your solo repertoire there for quite a while.
Yeah.
Things that, and now it's like a treat when you get to hear one of those songs that you still pull out different songs and do them live.
Right.
And and that was a great project. And you're right, that was all a lot of first, second take stuff. And I believe we were just down there for about 4 or 5 days. I mean, it was it was really a day getting acquainted and rehearsing a little bit, then getting recordings going.
Well, what an honor it was to make that record, and we got a Grammy nomination for it also.
Yes, if it was a righteous world, it would have been the Grammy winner that year. Because
Doc Watson won that year, and that's okay.
Listen, that's not a bad guy to come second to.
Yeah. It's hard enough to get a nomination. I'll take the win on that one.
Yeah, you should, Yorma. And recorded at a very historic recording studio.
Correct.
I remember they had those gigantic mics that were from, as they say, back in the day.
Yeah, what was the name of that studio?
Was it Monument?
No. If we had the record here, we could look it up. When we're done, I'm gonna look it up because I forgot.
Or maybe one of our production people can look it up while we're gabbing here. But I remember it was like a real old studio that they had kind of revamped up, but it had quite a good history.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
Great sounding room.
Yeah. And I will say one thing, Yorma, that I think we need to talk to our friends at Culture Factory, because they're so big on this vinyl reissues, and that Blue Country Heart. We had the good old Fur Peace Ranch store at that time back then, and we were really active. But that was aside from Qua, it was like your biggest selling solo thing.
It was a good record.
Time. It sold and sold.
Yeah.
Masterlink Studio.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you so much. But anyhow, that Blue Country Heart was only available on CD.
Yeah.
And we used to sell it like all the time.
That'd be a nice vinyl record.
Just like Qua,
Yeah.
And Columbia, I don't know what they were thinking, but they knocked it out of print. And I remember when they went out of print, I said, why would you knock this out of print? It sells all the time. And even the sales rep that we had for the from the wholesaler said he couldn't understand because they had a great track record, So sometimes I can't understand why these things.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to. This is not a sour grape statement, but big companies big corporations like that, honestly, they don't really care that much about artists like me.
That's too bad.
It is.
That's too bad.
But fortunately, Culture Factory does.
Yes, and that's the right people to be in with, because they treat you like you should be treated, Yorma.
Excuse me. You're all fakaked.
See, I was going to say something, but I didn't want to stop the cameras from rolling.
There you go. Good God.
Focaccia.
Does this microphone make me look fat?
No. But anyhow, Yorma, what a great project. But
it was a great project. What an honor, too.
What I was thinking is this is a great one for Culture Factory to put out on vinyl.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm going to talk to Ed about that, just see what kind of rights he has to get a hold of that. Because people just love the record, and now with the great vinyl pressings they're doing and stuff, I just could imagine that sounded just
I could hear that, yeah.
So killer. Yeah. That was a really great one, Yorma, and the Blue Country Heart, and that followed you going into the Merle Fest world for a while after that and stuff, and it was really a different record for what you usually did.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, a little bluegrass flavor, a little old country flavor. It had it all.
You know, it
all.
really changed my musical life in a lot of ways, opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. It was good. Good.
That's nice. You've had so many milestones along the way.
Amen.
Okay, so we briefly spoke about Barbara Dane in our last question session back in December, and you mentioned her, and you mentioned getting to see her when she came.
Sure. She played the folk theater in San Jose,
Right.
and I got to know one of her ex-husbands, Rolf Kahn, who's, for the music geeks out there, he's a refugee from Nazi Germany, a little older than me. But when he came to this country, in addition to learning how to speak English and stuff, he also learned to play flamenco guitar and fingerstyle blues. He did a bunch of stuff with Debbie Green. Remember, she was from the Joan Baez era.
Oh, okay.
And Rolf was a really interesting guy. And Barbara Dane, of course, was such a powerhouse singer.
Yeah, you had mentioned that, and someone put a question out after that if you were aware of the record she had done with Lightning Hopkins.
I was aware that she did that. I haven't heard it, but this is an interesting thing because Barbara did a lot of stuff with the great black artists of that era, which was not a common thing in those days. I mean, thank goodness that's not a big deal today.
Right.
But back in those
how uncommon was it, Yorma? Let's talk about that.
I can't think of anybody else that did it.
So that was really breaking barriers at that time.
Absolutely, no question about it.
And I remember you said she was badass. And
yeah, she would. I think it might have been Louis Armstrong or something that said. So one of those guys said something about, "Listen to that chick. She's a gasser."
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Sometimes gassers aren't that good a thing, but that was a good gasser.
In this case, in that era, a gasser was a good thing.
And she, I think, just passed in 2024.
Yeah, just passed recently. Yeah,
I think she was 97, if I remember.
Something
right.
like that. Yeah.
And but when I was unfamiliar with her, Yorma, until you mentioned her, and then now since I checked out some things,
and that doesn't surprise me, even for a big recording fan like yourself. She's one of these people, I think, that should be really notable for a lot of reasons, and it's a rabbit hole worth inhabiting.
Mm-hmm. Yorma, did she have any contemporaries? I mean, she's way before like the Bessie Smith period and stuff. Though I sometimes hear a little bit of that kind of sound.
Well, she wasn't. I mean, I'd have to look up.
Was there anybody else like there doing that kind of stuff like she was?
You mean a white chick?
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
Yeah. I like how you said that, a white chick. That's like real 60s style.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah. Okay. Surrealistic Pillow. See if you're even aware of this, because this was in a question here as well.
Uh-oh.
Surrealistic Pillow has 2 mixes, and the fellow that wrote the question felt like the mono mix was much better than when they did the stereo mix, because on the mono mix there is no echo, where there is an echo, a massive echo on the stereo mix. Is this anything you would be aware of? And
yeah, I mean, look, first of all, it's a matter of taste, and as a rule, mono recordings tended, I think, to sound fuller in those days. Like, for example, remember that English band, The Move?
Yeah.
So they're mono.
Roy Wood, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I actually have 2 copies of that left because I love that record.
Wow.
They were both mono mix, killer sounding on a stereo, because we all have stereos, but it was a mono mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, I was going to say I disagree, but it's not a matter of disagreeing. It's a matter of taste. Mm-hmm. The stereo recording is drenched in room reverb. That's not echo. That's real.
So just from the recording studio.
I mean, that's the way that was done, and I personally love that because I always loved that sound. Yeah, they had up in the attics of the RCA studios, they had a bunch of these concrete rooms. They'd have a speaker in it. They'd send the signal in and a microphone and pick it up, and you get the room reverb. That's how they did that stuff.
What a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I personally happen to like that sound, but yeah, I mean, I understand what he's saying.
Yeah. And, some of the early Airplane records did come out in mono.
Yeah.
And maybe even the first 3, and then they. So you.
Yeah, it's been a while since they cut a mono record.
Did you
I
get a
think.
preference like in those days? Like you could buy the mono or the stereo?
I don't know. I wasn't involved in.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure you could have bought either one that you wanted to. I can't imagine. I mean, I remember we used to go to the record store. We first saw our records in record stores. Whoa, look, we're at a store. They would have all been stereo. I can't remember seeing a mono record, but
Okay.
who knows?
Okay. Yeah, it is very interesting in a collector's point of view, too.
Totally, yeah,
Sometimes
absolutely.
those mono mixes, the originals, as
Yeah.
they call them, garner more money because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I say, sound-wise, some of those mono mixes were just, from a rock and roll recording standpoint, I think were much punchier than the stereos.
You know, you went from the mono mix and high fidelity coming in, and
Yeah.
RCA even had a lot to do
Yeah.
with that, too.
So you remember RCA had that Dynagroove, remember that?
Right.
One of their more forgettable ideas.
Yeah.
Where
It was
they compressed, did a lot of compression and stuff. That's, you know.
Just different things
Yeah.
they're trying out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Yorma. Yeah, so this came out after our podcast. Someone was talking about when we were talking about listening rooms. And they wondered about, for you, someone that has started out at a roots level to today, you know, been around over 6 decades doing things
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
The evolution of the venues. Now, I remember you saying that a lot of times those rooms, they were small rooms and stuff, and so you could go see a concert in a small room, and then all of a sudden you're going to see concerts in bigger and bigger rooms.
Right.
And of course, when I was a kid, the big stadium concerts became a big thing,
Yeah.
where they would play for 80,000 people. I mean, in a venue type thing.
Yeah.
What's your take on the evolution of the venues as far as how they changed during?
Well, I
the
think,
time?
I mean, technically speaking, you know, I'm not a stadium artist, so it's been a while since I've done that, and I don't think, I wouldn't think about stadium sound regardless of how high tech it was in terms of being like a high fidelity sound. I could be wrong, I don't know. But, I mean, if you think about it, most rooms today, even moderately small ones, have time-aligned systems, you know, and all this kind of stuff. So the people in the back hear exactly the same thing the people in the front do. You know, they acoustically treat all these rooms and all this kind of stuff that we didn't do back in those days. Yeah, I think generally speaking, you know, in the old days, we played what we used to like to affectionately call lost shitholes of America, you know, and that's not to trivialize or demean any of these gigs, because as we know, a gig is a gig, you know.
Yep.
But everything is just really has just progressed, and the ability to actually hear good sound tends to be, I think, the norm rather than the
Right.
than being an outlier, you know. But in those days, I mean, people go, what's your favorite room to play in? And whatever it was. Usually it's a room that has some kind of really nice, like, natural room echo, because I like that. But you know, just things have changed. It's more consistent now. And from an artistic point of view, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You can deal with all this stuff.
Right.
So you can go into a room, you know, our good buddy Myron Hart, that's my guitar and sound tech, you know, he goes in and tunes a room so that you and me can go in there and sound like we're playing in our living room, but it's in a room, you know. They didn't do that in the old days.
Right. So with a lot of the improvement in the technical aspects and the gear and all that
Absolutely.
stuff, made things
And
a lot better.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
What do you think about the Beatles playing Madison Square Garden? Apparently they sent that through the public announcement, because that's how they would have done something. You know, it's just.
I remember when the airplane first started touring, we did, bands like us, we did a lot of like high school gyms around the United States, and yeah, we used
those speakers in the ceiling.
Pretty much.
We're sending the music out.
Pretty
yeah.
much. I mean, so in the old days, you know, people will talk about amplifier size and stuff like that until they developed the tech of sound systems caught up with everything else. The only thing that would have been in the PA would have been the vocals and the drums, and everybody else
Coming off the stage
with the amps, and in order to make it work, you needed a big amp.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, that has come a long way.
Oh yeah, I mean the last thing you need in the world today is a big amp.
Yeah, yeah. So these are all good improvements as things.
In
went
my
on.
opinion, yeah.
Yep.
Now that being said, every now and then people start talking about hot tuna shows from the 70s and God, I wish you could do that. And I always tell them, you will never hear a show, not just hot tuna, you'll never hear a show like that as long as you live, probably, because the only thing coming through the PA in those shows is vocals and drums, and everything else is the band stuff. And they don't do it. That's just not the way we do it anymore.
No. What about a contemporary of yours from your era and another Maryland musician, John Fahey? Did you ever have any interaction with him, and also anything to take on his music?
No, I never did. I unfortunately never got a chance to meet John. I know he was friends with my friend Steve Talbot. In fact, he did a tribute song to Steve called Talbot at the Ketty Y, because that was Talbot was a train guy. He was a brakeman on the Southern Pacific Railroad. Anyway, they were buddies. But to get back to the real question here is, no, I never did get a chance to. And he's such an interesting guy. I mean, I heard the Blind Joe Death recordings and that stuff.
It is really, really interesting.
Oh, totally. I mean, really, he was a heavyweight cat in his time. And it's one of these things that in today's era, he probably would have been much better known. I mean, people that know about him obviously know about him, but in today's era, I think his fame would have had longer legs.
Yeah, because he was definitely, like a musician, how they say that.
I know, absolutely, absolutely.
As far as his, acceptance or people knowing him widely, I'd say it came mostly after his death.
Yeah, and of course he started Tacoma Records.
Right.
Because why Tacoma Records?
Tell me.
Tacoma Park, it's a suburb of D.C.
Okay. Now, did Steve Mann have a record on his label?
No.
Okay. He was Blue Goose.
That was later.
Okay.
Originally, that Straight Life record, I have to look at my copy of that and check it out, because that was not.
But Tacoma was a great acoustic label.
Yes,
and
it was.
I believe
And
that's Leo
right.
Kotke's.
Correct. Yeah.
With John's label there.
And the great Dick Rossmini produced that first Steve Mann record. You know who Dick Rossmini was?
No, but I want to know.
So Dick Rossmini was a 12-string player from L.A., heavyweight studio cat producer. Check him out sometime.
Rossmini.
Yeah.
He's got a good Italian name.
It sounds like it.
Here's another good question. Did you listen to Turner, Ray, and Glover?
So the answer is yeah, because they were the first guys like us that I knew that actually came out and did a record. And
they're right around 64, if I remember right, the first record,
right.
somewhere around there.
And Fritz Richmond, that played Jug in that band, his brother Steve was my roommate at Antioch, one quarter. Yeah, those guys. Yeah, they were the first to get out there with that stuff.
Doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you ever have a chance to see them? Or?
No.
Okay.
I didn't.
And
I did get to be friends with Dave Ray before he passed away later on, but I met him in the '90s. And,
do you feel like that first record of theirs, which was really acoustic blues?
Yeah, it's an important record.
Important record.
I agree.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Was it received back then as important as it was? Do you think people that were hip to that, in fact, what they were breaking ground with?
That's hard to say. And for me at that time, I probably would have listened to it, but not as much that I would have listened to the records of Reverend Davis and Brownie McGee and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I want to go more to the source, but the guys were fabulous, and I have listened to some of their stuff recently. Interestingly enough, and thanks to YouTube, it's there at the touch of a finger.
Yeah.
And they were heavyweight cats.
They were.
Yeah.
Were you familiar with Harry Smith's anthology?
No. Simple no.
Yeah.
Garcia was into that. I was aware of him, but I never got into the Harry Smith stuff.
Yeah. He's like one of those guys you hear about, like being one of the heavy musicologists.
Well, I think he's an important guy because of all the stuff that he recorded and left behind it. But I didn't know about him. No.
And in my era, when I was in the record business, they came out with the Harry Smith anthology box,
Oh, I bet it
which
was-
had all those singles and
Sure.
and pieced together, and you could tell, wow, this guy really, like one of those guys that went out there and dug into the mine, and brought that stuff
One
out.
wonders how his collection compared to Nick Pearl's. You know Nick Pearl.
Yeah,
Arhoolie.
Yazoo.
I'm sorry, Yazoo, yeah.
And the guy with Arhoolie is another heavy cat. with
Yeah,
that
Chris
stuff.
Strackwitz, yeah.
Yeah.
Important people, yeah.
Yeah, really were. And they did a lot to not only present that older music for people to listen to, but really saving it and
Absolutely.
God, when you look at that Harry Smith anthology, I mean, it's really almost like field recordings.
Yeah.
When these people went
I
out
mean,
and
if it
found
hadn't been
these
for
guys.
Arhoolie, I probably wouldn't have heard Mance Lipscomb.
Were you reading my mind? Look at my next question.
I am.
For the audience out there in our podcast world, the next question for Yorma was, are you familiar with or influenced by Mance Lipscomb? And that's the man that we were just talking about. Excuse me 1 second.
Go ahead.
I believe that he was the first records that Arhoolie put out.
It could be. I really don't know.
And of course, they had so many great things they put out. It was a great label to check out. But I remember hearing a story that he really brought Mance. He was a big part of that.
Yeah, Mance was an important guy, and the stuff was so interesting because it's one of these things where you listen to Mance Lipscomb and you go, well, that's easy, I can do that. And
then you find
it
out.
might have been simple, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah,
he was a good one. And I loved his voice also, great songs.
real nice voice.
Yeah.
Did you get to see him in live?
I never did,
Never
no.
got to see him. Some of these guys you hear about, like Mance, for instance, what would be the chances, like some people like that touring California, like when you were living out there as a young guy?
Slim to none.
Slim to none.
Yeah.
Now a guy like Lightning Hopkins, who was also with Arhoolie.
Yeah, Lightning was with so many record labels.
Oh, he was. So many labels. Aladdin was some of the great
I mean,
stuff,
every time
yeah.
he needed money, he cut another record with another label. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think contracts were important to him. Lightning, what a guy. I mean, Lightning was everywhere. I saw him at Gertie's Folk City when he was a Texas guy. I saw him in California. He played the Matrix. Told Jack Cassidy, forget this rock and roll stuff. You got to go on the road with me. Jack played with him for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, Lightning was Lightning.
Well, I'm glad that Jack came back around.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. He's definitely a heavy cat, Mance, and his style is a little bit different. I mean, it's all acoustic blues, but some of them have a little bit of something and he had something, even his voice that set things
Well, Lightning
apart.
was plugged in most of the time.
Yeah, but I mean Mance, I'm thinking.
Oh,
about.
Mance, yeah.
He had a
He
cool
definitely
thing.
had a thing. But just thinking about, to go back to Lightning for a sec, I remember Lightning was one of these guys that if he didn't have a guitar with him, he'd play any guitar that somebody
Close
would hand
by.
him. But I saw him a couple times. He always had like a J45 or a J50 with one of those de-armored sound hole pickups in it, and plugged into an amp.
When you saw him, was he always solo?
Always solo. I never saw him. Yeah, because Lightning, I remember, I forget where I heard this, but I'm sure it's true, because you listen to Lightning records, and he doesn't play 12-bar blues. He plays
13.
He plays Lightning blues.
11.
And when asked about it, he goes, "Lightning changed when Lightning want to change."
Yeah.
But there was a record on Time that I got back in the late '50s, early '60s, and it was called Lightning Hopkins, King of the Delta Blues Singers, which is absurd because he's not a Delta blues singer. Obviously, he just needed another record, and that's what he call it whatever you want.
Probably from the record company.
Yeah.
The king,
However, on this record is a song called Coffee Blues, which is a C blues, and it's like a 12-bar blues.
Yeah, that's a great song.
I guess Lightning.
He got it that day.
I got it that
He
day.
got it that day.
because he wanted to.
Yep. Lightning does what lightning want to do. He's a heavyweight in blues history. Now, I realize he's not coming. He would be in a period that is after, say, like Reverend and Blind Boy Fuller and all those people.
I don't know. It's hard to say. He was around. I'm not Blind Boy Fuller, but because I don't even know how old he was. But another thing about Lightning also, it's like when you hear Eartha Kitt sing, you know it's Eartha Kitt.
Yeah.
There are people that just,
Yeah.
you know, and Lightning, when you hear Lightning sing, you know it's Lightning.
You know it's him.
Yeah.
That is so true. Even whether you listen to one of the older recordings or the new,
Yeah.
the early things.
He had what we used to call back in the day a trick voice. I mean, it was just, nobody sounded like Lightning but Lightning.
Yeah. You know, I think someone asked this because we had talked about Big Bill Broonzy in one of our shows.
Yeah.
And they wondered if you have any favorite Big Bill story, song, or a period of his playing.
Well, I wrote my high school senior class term paper on Big Bill Broonzy. And we're going to the library on Wisconsin Avenue in D.C. to research it. And at the time, I'd never even heard him. I just liked the sound of his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is cool.
But then I started listening to him, and he's another one of these heavyweight cats. A great biography of his called "I Feel So Good" that's worth reading.
Okay.
Written by some scholar in Chicago or something.
Now, for me, he's always the original version I remember of "Trouble in Mind." Is that?
So many people have done "Trouble in Mind."
Yeah, he has an early version.
Yeah, I mean it's been around.
It's been around.
It was a
long time.
piano piece.
Okay.
Before recorded history.
Okay. This is a real good one here.
Uh-oh.
Someone says, in an interview you mentioned seeing Pink Floyd in the Bay Area, and it was the worst band you ever heard.
Okay, well, first of all, it wasn't the Bay Area. It was at Steve Paul's Scene in New York.
Okay.
And at that time, I just didn't get what they were doing.
Yeah, because
I would no longer say they were the worst band I ever heard. I'm just saying I didn't get what they were doing.
Yeah, because the question was, when was that? So the Steve Paul thing got to be what, early 60s?
No, not early 60s, late 60s.
Late 60s, yeah. That name is familiar, like as a producer?
He owned clubs.
Yeah.
Where all kinds of shit went on.
Okay. All right, so more like a club owner.
Yeah,
okay.
But it was like, man, this is where the hip people went, John.
Yeah, okay. No wonder why you were hanging out there.
Yeah.
Here's another good one.
Yeah, we're hanging out.
Clapton and you, Yorma, both play several of the same tunes, like How Long Blues, San Francisco Bay Blues. Have you ever played together? And if not, why not?
First of all, I'd love to play with Eric sometime, and why not if we were just never in the same place at the same time. Yeah, I find that interesting. I mean, obviously, both of those songs tweaked our...
Great blues songs.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought about that when I've heard it versions of them. I mean, they're great songs. It just seems like, why wouldn't you play those songs? I mean, I don't know why we both did it, but
yeah, I think
we both like the same songs,
right? And of course, he probably had, just Eric loving that old blues history as well. And like you say, those songs both, would definitely run through. He'd probably get those records from some American record store and run them back to England and stuff. Well, now that you're past the 85 year and we're thinking of the next birthday party.
Yes.
I'm thinking we should invite Eric maybe.
That would be swell.
And really a great idea for a record would be East meets West. The British guitar player playing with
that would be the East?
Yes.
The American, that would be the...
Playing with the West Coast sensation.
Funny.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that is interesting, Yorman. I know you've mentioned in our earlier podcast about seeing Cream and you were just blown away by them. And,
totally.
And Eric being, just such seeing him play and it just giving you, even the idea for the trio electric format and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that. And so even when you go out to see him play and stuff, nothing like going backstage and meeting him or anything like that. No.
You know, I've never been a backstage guy.
All right.
I just feel they need their space, man.
Yep. Well, you're a space kind of guy. Can you elaborate on the concerts in the park in San Francisco? And was that something that happened regularly? How the logistics of putting something like that together for a band of your guys' size and everything else?
Yeah, so Bill Thompson, who was our manager back then, he was buddies with Danny Rifkin and Rock Scully that were handling the Grateful Dead, and you know, we just would get together and do stuff in the park. Now sometimes we would try to get a permit, but sometimes we would just get a flatbed truck, put a PA on it, go to the park, the word would get out, and people would show up.
Well, how cool that is.
That is cool. So,
how about any problem with the city or the cops for doing something
all
like
the time.
that? Yeah.
But we were just joking about it the other day. They were doing some show down at the park in San Francisco a while ago, and I was talking to one of my friends. Could have even been you.
Mm-hmm.
And basically commented, yeah, we used to do that. Only when we did it, it was free.
Yeah, right. That don't happen. Yeah. So the airplane did it. Was it like other San Francisco bands would also jump?
Yeah,
in?
absolutely.
Like
I think
Quicksilver,
I just saw a picture. It popped up in one of these feeds somewhere of us, the Dead. I don't remember if Big Brother was there or not. All on a flatbed truck, speakers, amps.
And now, when you say the people would just show up, are we talking thousands of people?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And was it always in the same part of the Golden Gate Park?
It was there was in different places. I think one of the places we did for the most part was down by the polo field.
And what for you guys to bring in like the equipment and everything that plays up
Yeah.
like that had to be a lot of the stuff.
Well, it wasn't as much stuff as it would be today, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And they were just free concerts.
Set up a truck and a bunch of people come and watch you.
Wow. Well, that's pretty.
How
cool.
about that?
That's pretty cool, man. Yeah. That's like kind of what happens.
Permits? We don't need no stinking permits.
No permits. Comment regarding bathing at Baxter's. The questionnaire is saying it's one of the finest recordings of the era, which I'd have to agree with. And you know, at some point, in our first year, we talked about the Serialistic Pillow record. We talked about the Bark record.
Sure.
And we're going to delve in as this year goes on into some of the other great Jefferson Airplane records and take an episode to go through it. But Baxter's had so much stuff going on for it.
Right, so Baxter's was our first time with an 8-track recorder. So we had a lot of tracks to play with. We probably would have had 2 8-track recorders, so you could save one and bounce stuff back and forth. And yeah, there are lots and lots of overdubs. There's a lot of, you talk about, whatever it is to be psychedelic music. If Baxter's is not a psychedelic album, I don't know what is.
It's at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, was that a record that took a long time to make?
Boy, I wish I could remember that.
Because it seems there's
probably. I'm going to say probably.
Parts in it.
Actually, it did, yes, because, but wait now, we're going to need your brain here. Which record is that House of Pooneal Corners on? Baxter's, yeah. Okay, so I remember that, I think that record took a long time. I couldn't tell you how long, I'm sure somebody knows exactly. But I remember it took a long time just to get the feedback right for the beginning of that Pooneal song.
Yeah, that is oh boy, you could tell when you listen to that record there's a lot involved in it.
There are a lot of layers there, yeah.
Was the layering and stuff because all of a sudden that was something there for you? And you wanted to check.
Right, nature abhors a vacuum. We had to fill every track that was available.
Sure. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that one too. That is a really all the Jefferson Airplane records, and all even in different ways, all pretty monumental records.
Yeah, that was like I said, that was big tech advances. I mean, that 8-track recorder back then. I mean, it's like my daughter's got more tracks in her iPhone than those recorders had, but that was a big deal back then.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about the 1989 reunion LP and tour? Did you enjoy doing it? How was the hang with your old friends?
What did we enjoy doing? I'd say yes and no. First of all, it was, what happened with that reunion thing was really kind of a put together band. And I think that what I'd been thinking about when I got involved in it was that we, in some way, would be able to recapture the magic that the band had before it disbanded the first time. And the simple answer is because we weren't kids anymore, because it wasn't, there wasn't a lot of new stuff happening in my life at that time, musically speaking. The magic just wasn't there, and it was pretty much under the control of management companies and West Coast producers and stuff like that. So that being said, it was a good band, and I don't think it's a bad record.
Right.
It's not an organic Jefferson Airplane record like the early ones were, but it's a good record.
Yeah. Now, so for that record, they approached you, and so it's like, would you be willing to go back and play with the band again?
Right. And did I make this up, Vanessa, or did they promise me a lot of money? She's thinking. Now, the answer is we were all promised a lot of money. We were going to be rich. We'd never have to work again. And
I see that worked out good for you.
Right. It didn't quite work out that way, but
Thank God you're still working.
I'm still working. Yeah.
Thank God. Yeah.
But again, it's like I said, it wasn't an organic thing. It'd be fun if we could get Grace involved in this conversation. The chances of which are probably slim to none because she doesn't.
You
do
never
these
know.
kind-
We got Jack to come out.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, we could even go to her.
We could.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that they were convinced that it was going to be a big money grab, and the magic that the airplane had back in the day would still be there. And it's interesting too because at this time we were all, I think, more quote unquote professional musicians. But the producer of that record used a lot of LA studio cats and stuff like that. So it was.
Yeah, when you have Yorma Kalkin on guitar, you sure don't need a guy from another band.
No, you don't.
You really don't.
In my humble opinion.
And Yorma, I have to comment because hanging with you, I get to see several of those shows during the reunion.
And what did you
thing.
think?
Well, I as a fan thought it was wonderful to see the group up there together,
Right.
seeing Paul and Grace and Marty,
The gang,
and you
yeah,
and
the
Jack,
core, yeah.
Of course, they did have some extra people on guitar and keyboard and stuff,
Yeah.
which maybe I guess someone thought it was needed, not I, but when you talk about the magic, and sometimes you just can't go back and revisit that.
No, I mean, and that's the bottom line. And so, in retrospect, I'm not critical of the attempt.
Right.
It was just, again, hindsight always being 20/20. It was just unrealistic.
Yeah. And I think you really hit on a point when you talk about when you were younger and stuff.
Yeah.
How you guys do it. When 89 is when the record came out, so it's literally almost 30 after you stopped doing things. Not quite 30, but.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a quarter of a century,
And
easy.
When you use that word organic, that's what I think about. When you listen to the original Airplane, organic, how it comes together, where this seemed a little more, I don't want to say contrived, but put together.
You could say that. I mean,
And one thing I will say is, I think one of the odd things about the tour was, if they had just stuck to the Jefferson Airplane catalog or some blues type stuff, and nothing to discredit the Jefferson Starship at all, but having you have to sit there and go through Miracles, it just.
I think I let my brother play on that one.
I think you sat kind of with a sad face on your amplifier.
Ah.
But anyhow, but you know what I'm saying?
I
it wasn't just Jefferson Airplane.
No,
it was
I know.
kind of like a retrospective of the Starship.
You're right.
Mothing
Agreed,
and stuff.
agreed.
And I think that kind of changed it up a little bit. Cause
So the other thing I think that's really important to think about is that when the core Jefferson Airplane, which for me is Spencer,
Right.
Grace, Jack, but the normal guys, the core guys. All we did back in those days is play. When we weren't on the road, we rehearsed relentlessly, and that's something that was easy to do when you're young like that,
Right.
because we had nothing else to do.
And you're just so, biting into it.
Yeah, you're just fired up by the whole thing. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like you could do, it was almost like a tribute band to ourselves in a way.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah.
I see that. At the same time, I bet it must have felt good for you to look up there and see those three principal singers on the stage once again.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, really, what a powerhouse trio of singers. I couldn't agree more with you about that.
Yeah. All right, Yorma. Okay, well now I'm going to
Yes.
switch into a different gear,
Uh-oh.
and we're going to talk about this record right here. And it's called Before We Were Them. I talk about this record because this is fresh, boy. This is really fresh. It just came in this week to the...
Wait, hang on just a sec.
Smell it.
Yep.
Crisp, Yorma.
Vital.
Anyhow, River of Time Boutique, of course, will have this vinyl, as will the Fur Peace Ranch Company store, which we still have active and here for you. And the CD came out, much to my amazement, 2018, over 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And with vinyl being so cool as it is these days, the fine people, Hawk and the gang at the Beers, Owsley Stanley Foundation, have released this on vinyl. And I would wonder if this is maybe the first vinyl I know of them putting out, which is so cool.
It might be.
But anyhow, even though I'd heard the CD, having the record made me go back and listen to everything again. And there's some really interesting things on this release. I'd show the people out there. Again, a great cover. It's got a great inside. The edits on the inside are great because you get to hear Yorma's take on things as well as Jack, and a great story behind the music, and Redbird also talking about the record and stuff. But all the songs are long, and this is from Vets Memorial in Santa Rosa, California, June 28th of 1969.
Ooh.
So we're going to talk about this record a little bit, and then maybe we'll even get a song on to listen to a little bit. But anyhow, new vinyl, and again, these folks have done a real nice job on it. And we once again have colors. And
classic.
Yes, this is kind of like a bluish kind of thing.
Bluish-ish.
Yeah.
Ish.
And the other
Kind
one
of goes with the cover.
Yeah, and the other one I believe is yellowish. But let me see. Yeah.
Yeah, look at this.
Look at this, Yorma. So, they should have like a entrance and exit on these sleeves to make it easier. Yeah, we got nice orange vinyl here.
Very nice.
Yeah. Anyhow, Yorma,
So
this is 1969 when this was put out. What my question to you, Yorma, is, okay, so you're playing acoustic blues in 1964, Wabash Avenue, Reno Road. You go through your stint with the Jefferson Airplane, and this is actually during a time when the Jefferson Airplane and you are still active. When this is recorded. But rather than going to an acoustic thing, you go to a heavy electric 3/0 format. But then when it comes time for the first Hot Tuna record, a little over a year and a half later, we have a completely acoustic record with pretty much you and Jack. Of course, Will Scollard's there on harmonica. Right. And it is at that point that Hot Tuna pretty much becomes known for their acoustic show. And so what's going on here, time-wise?
Well, we just like to play. And this was not a career move, and we would just get together. We love jamming, and anytime we got a chance to play, we would do it. I guess the airplane wasn't working as much as we liked, and we were still cutting our teeth on a lot of this electric blues stuff, or whatever you want to call it. We were doing jamming and whatnot, and every time we got a chance to do it, we did. And of course, anytime Owsley was around, he recorded everything.
Yes. Well, this is what I was wondering, Yorma, now that Hot Tuna, before it was actually known as Hot Tuna, it's Yorma and Jack. Right. You guys would do segments during a Jefferson Airplane show.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yes. Was that just once in a while type thing?
No, it was absolutely. It's like, maybe Paul wanted to smoke a joint or go to the bathroom.
So
Why don't
you
you guys
got
play a
to
song?
do a few songs.
Yeah, and I'm only saying that half in jest. I remember at the Fillmore East, I think one of the first times we played in front of an audience as our duo was in an airplane show at the Fillmore East.
So it was just kind of morphed into that.
Yeah.
So even though, now when you played with the Jefferson Airplane, you guys played acoustic.
When I played with Jefferson.
No, when you and Jack did those little mini sets.
Yeah, well, we didn't do it a lot. We did it at the film, but yeah, we'd play. It would be acoustic, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're the acoustic, but then when you do this, you jump to the electric, and it's like a heavy-duty trio.
Well, you know, I mean, we had been rehearsing the acoustic thing in hotel rooms for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
This is not rehearsed stuff. This is jamming.
This is jamming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Yorm.
Which is why it's so cool, actually. And again, you know, because I've listened to this recently too, and it's like, wow, that's okay. You know.
Well, I love the long extended songs, and also you really getting the jams out on it.
Yeah.
Now, in the lining notes, and as you just mentioned, that Osley doing the recording, I believe they said he recorded all the nights at the New Orleans house that the first record came from. There were multiple nights.
Well, he's not the source for those recordings.
No.
We had a remote truck from RCA.
Okay. But I wondered when they did that other reissue that came out if it was from his stuff or from the RCA.
No,
stuff.
that's all RCA stuff. That's all.
So it isn't necessary that even though he recorded that, that's the source you used.
I don't. To be honest with you, I'm not. He might have surreptitiously recorded. RCA would never have allowed him to record.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to ask you. Also, of course, he has a long history with the Grateful Dead.
Which doesn't mean he didn't record.
Right.
But I don't think so, or we would have heard about it.
Did you ever remember him coming in for Jefferson Airplane shows to record?
No.
No.
But I'm sure he did.
Yeah. So he was mostly doing the Grateful Dead stuff.
Well, he was kind of part of the Dead family there, as I recall.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
What do you see there?
Well, I was looking because I thought this was where I saw the note that he had recorded the song. He'd recorded at the New Orleans house, and like you said, it was probably just doing it at the same time RCA was doing it here. We'll look and check on that, but. So he not necessarily recording with you all the time. It was like just
no, because he wasn't with us all the time.
Okay.
But Owsley, God bless him, or we wouldn't have this. Just whip out his Nagra tape recorder and.
Mm-hmm. Now when I listen to this, I don't really think of Hot Tuna as much as I think of. It sounds like Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah, because we're.
But the rhythm guitar player is missing.
Yeah, and well said, John. I couldn't have said it better myself.
But it is a Jefferson Airplane sound.
Yeah. Well, because that was our sound. That's us.
Right, and the time it comes out.
Yeah.
It's interesting that some of the songs on here are under a title that when you hear the song you may recognize it, and also. Like Rock Me Baby and Come Back Baby. Those were regular songs.
Those are regular
Jefferson Airplane
songs,
set, right?
Yeah, right.
And like Uncle Sam's Blues as well.
Yeah.
Now, with those three...
Which came from an acoustic version.
Right. With those three great vocalists that you had in lead vocal part, how often was it they'd say, Yorma, sing a song? Was it like...
Whenever I wanted to.
Whenever you wanted to.
That was the amazing thing about the Airplane. You would think a song with three top-notch singers like that wouldn't have time for anybody else. It's like the joke about the drummer. When am I going to get to do my songs?
Yeah.
But the simple answer was anytime you wanted to.
Yeah. So like Uncle Sam or Come Back Baby, or Rock Me Baby, that would show up every once in a while in a set.
Yeah. Occasionally, yeah.
And would it be like they'd turn to you and say, you want to sing a song? Or?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Hey, it's in the Woodstock.
Yeah.
We did Uncle Sam at Woodstock.
Right. And
I played at Woodstock.
Yes, you did. And this Uncle Sam on here is a great version as well. And that's what.
How many minutes long is it?
It is. It's a shorter version, only 8 minutes and 17 seconds. It must be the commercial release, But one thing interesting about that, Yorma, is I wanted to ask you about is now Uncle Sam Blues comes from the Snooks Eaglin.
Snooks Eagleton.
And it is an acoustic song on Snook's record.
Yeah, so Snooks, it's from his. It's called New Orleans Street Singer, and it's a folkways record. And I was looking at my copy recently, and it's busted.
Really?
Yeah,
We
it's
will
got
get you some.
It's
We'll
got
get
a
you
big
new one.
chunk out of it.
What,
but-
the record?
Yeah, the record
Who
itself.
took care of that?
It just fell apart, I guess. I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, and so I wouldn't really think about. I guess if I was being a musicologist and I'd done some more research, Snooks Eagleton was a very sophisticated guy, and most of his stuff is really jazzy.
Yeah.
So I guess, who knows? I guess the guys at Folkways, we got this guy. Well, he'll play some songs, and he's from New Orleans. He'll be a street singer, and he is playing solo acoustic stuff. But I wouldn't think about him as just being a street singer. I think he was a lot more than that. But anyway, yeah, good.
How about you grabbing this acoustic song and turning it into the electric song that you played at Woodstock?
Well, I think the reason is a little bit of geekery stuff for the guitar players out there. It just made sense. It just made sense. I wish I had a more geeky story, but I didn't have that many songs to bring to the band when they said play a song, and so.
Yeah.
And that one translated well.
Still interesting, though, that you heard it in an acoustic thing and were able to turn it into a really great
Right.
electric song, electric blues, really.
Yeah, let me see this thing. So where is that? Yeah. Yeah, good question.
We'll have to listen to it and
Yeah, bonus track.
bring it back.
Yeah.
And you know, also an interesting thing, that's where I was leading to with this acoustic songs turning into electric. You know,
Yeah.
like on the Cream record, you got them taking like a Robert Johnson song.
So I remember I've said this, just hang on to your thought there for a sec. You know, over the years, a lot of people have sourced material. I can't think of a group of musicians that sourced essentially acoustic material and transliterated it into an electric band better than
Cream.
the gentleman in Cream did,
Yeah.
in my humble opinion.
Because you have I'm So Glad also, which, you know, would really
Right.
transformed under Cream's version.
Yeah, totally.
From Skip James's early version of that.
A lot of lyrics to remember in that song.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, but no, they did such a great job with that.
And you know, we were talking earlier maybe about Cat Squirrel, which is another song that Clapton and Cream did and stuff, but it's done as an acoustic, you know, solo number, Blues Worldwide by
Yeah.
Dr. Ross. So it's interesting that everybody's able to grab yourself as well, grab these acoustic blues numbers and turn them into electric blues classics.
And you know, I mean, and it doesn't seem like a stretch, you know, putting myself back in that time, because you can play something on the acoustic guitar, but if you want to be heard, you got to play an electric guitar.
You know, I know our time is running out once again. We get talking, boy, it goes like so quick. And there's some more things I want to talk about here, and maybe in the next episode we'll talk about a little at the beginning. But I want to play a song, and I've got it here.
And what is this song you want to play?
Let me
get this out of your way.
because we have to get the full stereo
I
sound.
understand,
here.
I understand.
Listen to this here, Yorma. Let me catch you on the other side of it. The tubes. Oh, it's not plugged in. Hold on a second. All right, let me try again now. Here it is. I had it on the wrong channel. Turn it up a little bit more here. Let me see. So you could hear it. Does that ring a bell, Yorma? On this record, this 11-minute, 11-second jam
mirror.
called "Through the Grove," and,
Yeah.
but it reminds me of a song
Called
It might have been on the Bark record.
Feels So Good.
Yeah.
It's the embryo of that song.
It's before you did it with the airplane.
Yes.
Yeah. And
before there were any lyrics to it.
And you got Star Trek on here, which is so cool as well,
Yeah.
which is a great Jefferson Airplane song. So when you were doing this, it's still a lot of Jefferson Airplane because you were still in
we
Jefferson
knew so many
Airplane.
songs.
Yeah, and so that's why it has such a Jefferson Airplane sound to the record, because you still were Jefferson Airplaning.
Only we didn't have a couple of members with us.
How often did you guys do this with the electric thing?
Pretty much any time we got a chance to, we weren't working because we like to do that stuff.
When did this turn to Hot Tuna?
That's a good question.
Was there a conscious thing that, hey, we got to...
The simple answer is I don't think so. Hot Tuna went through a bunch of incarnations early on. Marty was a singer in the band for a while. We had Joey Covington was a drummer for a while. We had a bunch of different drummers. My brother was in the band for a while. I mean, basically there's a bunch of guys getting together and playing music, and because if you're going to play somewhere, it's nice to have a name, and that's just use the name.
Okay. All right.
The band hadn't coalesced didn't really have an identity yet.
Yeah, you're still working your way in between these different groups at this point.
Correctamundo.
All right. Well, listen, I may have more to say about this, but we're going to have to hold it for the next podcast. We've touched on a lot of stuff today.
Well, we sure have.
And thanks for letting us go down memory lane with you, Yorma.
Yeah.
We went from Wabash Avenue all the way up to
Santa Rosa.
when you were there.
Yeah.
Let's hear some great music as we head out here today.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Walking down that lonesome road set my soul on